Hey there, getting ready to go live to the Changemakers group. Hello, Changemakers. If you're watching this recording someplace else other than the Changemakers group, you can find out about these episodes basically by going to the Changemakers group on Facebook. Just look up Changemakers and you can ask for membership. It's a community for the leadership of nonprofit organizations. So we'd love to have you in Changemakers. Today we're talking about the art of the thank you and how we can use email sequences basically to enhance what we're doing in thanking our donors. So talking about thanking donors in ways that can bridge to year-end campaigns or develop deeper relationships with your donors and keep especially those first-time donors engaged and wanting to support you and really excited about it. So I'm just checking to see who is with us. I have no idea how to use all the things on live, so we're just going to keep on going. Hopefully you can add comments or send messages through this so that I can interact with you, and you can let me know your ideas and your suggestions for thanking as we go along. And I want to tell you right away that, and I'll repeat this at the end, but there's going to be a workshop this Friday, December 4th at noon. It's going to be a Zoom workshop live, and we'll be working together on creating the types of thank you sequences that I'm talking about today. So you can go to my website, which is bernadetteMack.com/workshops to see those details. So, but I'll mention it again at the end. So a lot of things can happen when it comes to sending your thank you messages. So most people probably send an automated receipt that gets kicked out from your online giving system right away when someone gives. Maybe you even are able to like edit the details of that receipt that goes out, and you've kind of souped it up and added maybe a personalized message or your tax info and maybe a link to your website or even messages. Images. Maybe you can even put images in there. So on top of that, some people also send a paper version of an acknowledgement letter or a paper receipt in the mail at some sort of interval throughout the year. And then hopefully that person gets added to your database. You're keeping track of their giving information and their demographic info, and they're probably lumped into your regular emailing and direct mail list. So some combination of those things are probably happening for most organizations, and that can be where the acknowledgement or the thanking process ends. And maybe you think like, oh, I covered all my bases. We did all the requisite things that are required and the things that are customary to send. We've, crossed all our T's, and that's good. And now they'll just get into our mailing list and we'll keep in touch with them that way, if you have one. And that's totally not atypical. This is, if this is what you're doing, it's totally appropriate. It's, what happens. But what I'm talking about today is how you can go beyond that typical situation and really improve your donor experience, take it up a level, and also help you get more future support with less effort. So I know there's all types of shops out there. And the first situation I want to talk about is a really busy organization that maybe doesn't have any staff dedicated to fundraising, or where you do fundraising basically on the side, like when there are certain special events or at certain times throughout the year, like end of year giving or You basically have just some one-off asks throughout the year based on whatever comes up. And you're not really set up to be a fundraising operation. You're just trying to maybe establish a source of revenue from individual giving as part of the other things that you're doing. And you want that to sort of supplement like your other funding sources like grants or sponsorships or however else you make your money. It's a good idea to have different revenue streams, obviously. So maybe even have goals around that. Like you set goals every year for what you want to raise from individual gifts. But you don't really have a big coordinated effort or some overarching campaign that's happening. And if that's you, no judgment. A lot of groups find themselves in that position. They have the expectation to raise funds, but there's no real structure behind it, or there's not enough support or staff to really do that type of program properly. But you still need to ask for and raise money. So even if you do fundraising sometimes and you don't have a sophisticated program, you can really make up for it, at least in large part, by having a really great plan for thanking. The best news is that you can set this up once and it'll work for you throughout the year so that people don't fall through the cracks, which is what happens a lot when you're working in a small staff, especially if there's nobody whose job it is dedicated to fundraising activities. And the processes of fundraising are just built into your everyday operations. And maybe, different people have different hands in it. And so a lot of times it can happen where people don't get their letter, or they don't get their letter or their acknowledgement in a timely manner. So it's kind of like past the time when it was appropriate to say thank you. And so they can fall through the cracks. That happens a lot. And worse yet, they might not hear from you again until it's time to ask for another gift. And we all know what it feels like when you only hear from people when they need something from you. And that's not cool. That's not the feeling that you want your donors to have. And everybody's doing their best and everyone has a million things to do. And these things happen. And you want your donors to feel appreciated, and that's the intention behind it. But following through on that without a big system behind you or a structure in place is difficult. So having a great thank you plan that's set up in advance can really help you avoid some of those awkward things where you don't really get to engage the donors at that opportune moment when they've supported you, and then take them on a journey basically to the next thing. So I'm just looking at my notes because I know this is live, but I don't want to be like stream of consciousness, so I'm trying to stay on track. But when you create an email sequence, it's a series of messages. I just want to clarify what I mean by an email sequence. If you don't know, it's a series of messages that go out in certain intervals that you set up in advance. And it's an opportunity for you to really engage the person that has made a gift to you in a way that provides them with more education, maybe about what their gift is helping to do in your organization, maybe other programs that are happening, other events. Maybe it's, even it could be maybe a survey goes into the sequence to find out more about that donor, what they're looking for, why they're involved, maybe invitations to participate as a volunteer. There are many ideas of how you can use a sequence to bring people along and take them on basically a tour of your organization over time, And it doesn't have to be a long time, but it does have to be in increments. And to engage with you in things that are not asks. So they're not solicitations. And they're getting information and communication with you. Hopefully it's things that feel special and messages that feel personalized. And you can get as fancy as you want with these, which is not necessary at the beginning, but it's messages that that they'll remember and want to read when they get them from you. So some people might ask, can I just make my acknowledgement letter really robust? Like, say the automated receipt goes out and then we also send an automated email, or, you know, an email within a few days. And can I just make that like really robust with a bunch of images and links to different programs and places they could visit on our website, and ways to be involved, contact people to reach out to, you know, a story maybe about how their gift, like, you know, newsletter style kind of story about how their gift makes a difference. Can I just do that all, you know, in one shot so that people don't get tons of email? And that's a really important question. And I think a lot of people do that thinking, I'm going to give them as much information right off the bat as possible. They're likely to open this since it's the first email I'm sending them since they made their gift. And so they'll probably read it or at least open it, but they may not be able to digest all of that information at once. So what I'm suggesting is with a sequence, we all know that it is hard to get emails opened in the first place. It's even harder to get emails read and actually like consumed and understood. And it's really difficult to get them clicked through to whatever call to action you have sent them. So rather than trying that like one and done approach, like give them everything in one place so they just have it and they could reference it, people aren't going to do that. I mean, the odd person might save your email to reference later and go back to, but it's not happening. So rather than that, you want to try to develop a relationship along the way, taking your supporter on that tour that I said, and giving them pieces of your organization in bite-sized chunks so that they can actually read it. And once people get emails from you that are concise and they're engaging and they're interesting and actionable, if you need them to take an action, they're going to be much more likely to open the next one you send and the next one you send. And then that's as many more messages as you're getting through to them. So you're educating them hopefully about programming, and, you know, events, inviting them to maybe special donor events, you know, when we actually have events again. And we can, there's just so much. We can get into the nitty gritty about what goes into the sequence and how to create that on the workshop on Friday that I mentioned. And if any of these things are resonating with you, somehow maybe send me a comment and I'll try to figure out where I can see that, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But anyway, the next type of organization I want to talk about is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where we see organizations that have a dedicated fundraising person or development staff, or even, you know, a whole group of people dedicated to this, and raising funds is a major part of what they do on a day-to-day basis. And organizations like this might spend a lot of time and effort and money on asking and raising money, and asking for donations. But then when it comes time to thanking, they're spending much less effort on it. So maybe you got 95% of your time and effort in the ask, and ways of asking and all these complicated and extremely sophisticated and amazing ways of finding and asking the right people for money and support. But then you've spent about 5% on the other side when it comes to the thanking effort. So what I'm suggesting through having a great email sequence set up, if you don't already and you're in a program like that, is shifting some of that 95% effort over to the thanking side, because by doing that, you're going to make the asking easier in the long run. People who have made gifts are much more likely to make another gift, especially if they were thanked in a timely manner in ways that are meaningful and engaging to them. And that is the crux of it, and it has changed over time. Maybe getting a paper letter in the mail was, the standard and the thing that, people felt was appropriate, and they felt appreciated through that. But I think paper is probably not being used that often anymore, and it's not an engaging way for the donors of today and tomorrow to really connect with your organization and stay connected. So although paper letters are great and they're kind of a novelty, it really has to be part of a more comprehensive thanking process that will really help your asking process as a byproduct of that. So shifting some of that effort from the asking to really spending time focused on the thanking, and a program that's sophisticated and really has a lot of structure and support and resources behind it is, the sky's the limit with how fancy and sophisticated you could get with a great thanking program. And the technology these days to be able to set up a thank you sequence that goes into your end of year giving and goes into, the next event, and just leads people down a path to really stay connected with you and engaged. The sky is the limit, especially if you have those resources and staff behind it. So what actually happens when you create a sequence that's, a series of great emails, or even, you could tie in, ads and retargeting and social media stuff with it. If you can really get, if you understand the technology and you can really get into it, that's all great. And when you do something like that, even with a very basic, nicely executed, thoughtful thank you email sequence, super basic, if you can do that, what happens when you engage and educate that that group of donors, your donor? What happens is you create advocates and champions for your organization. Those are the people that are going to go out and sing your praises, and they're going to feel so appreciated and feel so good about supporting you and the work that they're able to help you do with their support and donations, that they're going to want to tell other people about it. And that's kind of the end game. Like, you need to create these advocates so that they're talking about you and they're spreading the word, so that you can bring more people into your mission and have more awareness and more funds and more support to do more good and make a bigger impact. So all of that stuff can happen, by creating champions and connecting people so much with you that they're out there singing your praises, and all because you decided to thank them better. So, are any of you out there thanking in special ways, other than, some of the things that I've mentioned here? Again, send me a comment or something and I'll try to find it. Because I am not really sure. I'm looking. All right, well, I'm gonna keep going because hopefully if y'all are sending amazing ideas of what you're doing to thank, someone can see them because I cannot see them. But in the nonprofit world, you know that we borrow ideas. Nobody wants to reinvent the wheel. There's so much to learn from each other. And so if you have thinking ideas, even after I post this video of the live, if you want to add your ideas of what you do or what you've thought about doing or what you've wanted to do but weren't really sure how to execute, you know, put those in the comments, because chances are somebody else has the same question, or they've tried it, or they know something about it, or they know the person that can help you with it. So, and if you are thinking that creating an email sequence is something you need to do, you want to set this thing up and have it go throughout the year and not have to worry about people falling through the cracks or feeling like you're only reaching out to your donor base when you want something from them, but you need help with it. Either you need writing help, you need ideas of what to put in these email sequences, or you need some guidance on the technology behind the scenes, how to set it up so that it goes out automatically. Or you just want to put this on your calendar and meet up with a group where you're going to get it done, then come to the workshop on Friday, December 4th, Friday at noon, and you'll get a Zoom link when you register. You can go to BernadetteMack.com/workshops and you can sign up there for the workshop. We're going to dig right into setting up that email sequence. And like I said, you can get writing help if you need it, messaging ideas if you need them, technology guidance if you need it, or just accountability and a group to work with to get this done and set up for 21 and ready to go. Sequences can work for you all year. And you can just, you know, even just getting started with something simple, if you're not really sure how to do this or haven't tried anything like this before, or you don't have any automated emails going out in a strategic way, getting started with something very basic and simple is better than the sequence that you don't have set up right now. So I encourage you to do that if you don't have something like that already set up. And you'll never have to start from scratch again. So even if you decide that you're gonna make it fancier and more robust and have all the bells and whistles and add all kinds of different things and get more sophisticated with that messaging, you can do that anytime over time, but you never have to start over from scratch because you'll have laid the groundwork for this sequence. And the most important thing is just to be able to maintain that connection with the people who have made a gift to you at the time that they've done it. It's the most important time. And so you don't want to miss the opportunity to cultivate people and draw them into your mission. So that's my discussion on thanking ideas. I really think that having a sequence is a simple thing that you can do. It's certainly not, you know, the end all be all, but it can really be an easy way to incorporate this into your program to help capture those donors when they are a captive audience, and engage them and bring them closer to you and closer to your mission and help them learn more about you so that they want to support you even more. They'll be looking for more ways to get involved with your mission over time and become the advocate that you need to go out there and talk it up for you. Because word of mouth, we know, is extremely powerful. And so those are my thoughts on thank you sequences. Love to see you in the workshop on Friday at noon. BernadetteMack.com/workshops. And we will get into it. And you can get something going and set up and rolled out and working for you all year. So I guess that's it. Thanks for joining me. And if there were any comments, I'm going to find them somehow. All right, until next time. Thanks.